Jeez, it's running smooth. It is very
Yeah, it
smooth.
does. Currently at 130 FPS with everything maxed out. Let's see. Where could this be? I found myself. I'm at the factory in Solnichny.
Okay. I'll start making my way
So
down
I
south
just need
towards
to
you.
meeting at Lumbermill or something.
Okay, so if you guys and girls haven't guessed yet, we are interviewing the one, the only Arkensor. How are you, buddy?
I'm fine, thanks. How are you?
Not too bad at all, mate. Not too bad at all. Hopefully this time the interview worked perfectly, unlike the last time where, yeah, let's just say I'm an idiot. And leave it at that.
Alright.
Yeah. Mate, let's find out a little bit more about you for those out there who don't know you, which I'm assuming is a lot of people. I know a lot of people have probably heard of you now, especially because of the Hype Train mod, which we'll talk a bit more about later. But let's start with some basics. How old are you, buddy?
I'm 20 years old.
Young fella.
Yeah.
Any family and missus, kids, that sort of stuff?
No missus, just my parents, and mid next year probably 2 stepbrothers.
Yep. Ah, okay. How old are the stepbrothers going to be?
Pretty much around my age, too, a bit older.
Okay, that's not bad. I need to find some water. I think there's a lake somewhere
Same.
around me. Where I am. What do you do for a living, mate?
I'm currently a college student at university, doing my bachelor's thesis right now.
Yep.
Finishing January next year, and when I'm not busy with my studies, I'm self-employed software developer.
Yep. Do you get much work doing that?
Yeah.
Good. Not a lot of people trying to take advantage of your specialist skills and get you to work for free, I hope.
Yeah, that sometimes happens, but it's fine.
As long as it's something you enjoy doing, then it's not so bad, is it?
Yeah, exactly. If you have good fun, that's also some kind of counter reward you get. So.
Yep. So obviously we know that one of your big loves is modding, but do you have any other hobbies, things you enjoy doing outside of gaming?
Yes, before I started studying at university, I was regularly at the local beach in my hometown, doing some and also rescue swimming, so watching people at the beach to not drowning and have an overall eye on everybody there.
Okay.
A music instrument, I played cello for a while, which I paused when I started studying because there was no real place to practice in the students' flats without getting on the nerves of all the neighbors.
Yeah.
So I'll pick that up later on when I'm finished with my studies.
Now, what is the origin of your name Arkensor? It's an unusual name.
Yeah, that's actually quite a funny story. When I was first playing online games and had to choose usernames, I was trying a lot of combinations with my real name, which is Paul. But obviously there are lots of combinations of it already taken. So when I was searching for possible made-up names or something, I remembered my parents telling me the story of where I originated from, and that they made me, so to speak, on a trip through the USA, looking at the map and looking at different state names. And even though it's not spelled like it, but I was coming across the state of Arkensor, which spells Arkansas, but you didn't pronounce it that way, and username wasn't taken, and it kind of sounded unique enough for me to not be, I don't know, a Shadow Master or whatever. So I stick to that, and yet nobody has taken my name on any platforms. Please don't. So I'll hopefully be using that in the future as well.
That's awesome. The place where you were made. Your parents even remember.
Yeah, of course, it's important bit for them.
Well, and pretty important for you, mate, as well. It's how you came into existence. So that's cool, man. You named yourself after the place where your parents did the dirty. Love it. Okay, a bit about your gaming background. So who or what got you into gaming in the first place?
I casually played games when I was very young, when my family got its first computer.
Yep.
A game coming with it was Age of Empires 2, which is like a real-time strategy game.
Love the Age of Empires games.
Great. Still play them today. And when I was, exchanging with classmates in, I don't know, maybe 5th or 6th grade.
Yep.
In school, we found out that every one of us owns the game, and we started to play on little LAN parties.
Yep.
And then that's when I started getting into more multiplayer games and played like some MMOs, and then eventually made my way to some multiplayer shooter games like Call of Duty and stuff. And I don't know, I think 6 years in the past started with playing Arma series, which I was invited to from my friend to try out Arma 2 mod DayZ, and ever since that has been kind of my favorite game series, and I play that a lot.
Well, you just answered the next question. What's your favorite game of all time? So obviously for you it's DayZ.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Both mods and standalone together, I would count that as one.
What? Taking into account the state of the game as it is now, which one's your favorite?
Definitely standalone.
Why?
Especially with the recent patches, it's recently base building was introduced, so that was a major point for me, which I was spending a lot of time with the mods on. So just gather supplies and build some nice bases, and I prefer to have more than 30 FPS, which I had in the old mod on my old computer.
Yep.
And just in general, modern game with many nice features with animation blending. It just looks smooth and feels better, more responsive than the old mod, even though the mod times or the mod feeling is kind of different. I play that, once every while to get the old feeling, but right now I enjoy standalone more than the mods.
Speaking of the current patch, I've just managed to make myself sick drinking water from the lake here. So, and now I've got a new symbol I haven't seen before, a little medical pill. So obviously I have cholera, I'm guessing. So that could make this quite a short run. I may be respawning.
Find some water as well.
Yeah. First PC, do you remember it?
Yes, I don't know the specs, but because I wasn't into hardware at that time at all, but it was a very expensive at the time Windows computer bought from a local shop with Windows Millennium on it, so it was around the year 2000. Very, very tiny. I think it had like, I don't know, 200 kilobytes of RAM or something, and just a few megabytes hard drive, so very early PC, but it was very very decent for the time, and it played the games I tried out back then very well, so I never had issues. And I think we stick with that computer for 5 years something until upgrading to another more modern budget PC, when things like Microsoft Word and Office were getting too consuming for the old PC to handle.
And what about consoles? Did you ever a console man?
I played a lot of on consoles, but mostly with friends I was staying over or visiting for that because as a child I never owned a console and wasn't allowed so as
Yep.
well. And I got one console, the Wii U, for a Christmas present some years ago, which I played a lot of things on, and also a normal Wii with, you know, the classical fitness and balance board stuff, and you know, golfing and all stuff like that. It was very, very, very funny. But other than that, I played just computer games.
Okay. Modding. Obviously, that's your big passion, mate. What got you into it?
Um, I started not directly with modding, but just doing small edits to an old Arma 2 DayZ server I run with my friend to
Yep.
play online together on a, you know, dedicated machine. And when I had a big break where I was just, you know, playing on Arma 3 servers on different game modes when it came out back then, some King of the Hill, some Excel, but mainly Altus Live, and I had several server projects I was involved with, where I, you know, did all the scripting for the server, edit new content, edit skins, and all of that stuff.
Yep.
And that got me kind of started with everything. And I never made any, you know, major complete conversion mods for Arma 3, but I was very excited for what other people did there. And when DayZ was in the state where it was reliable moddable, so I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 months in the past, I started looking into how does one do things in DayZ, and ever since I've been playing around with a lot of modding stuff in there, but no modding previous to the Arma series.
Yep. Which is all probably very, very handy when it comes to the fact that you're doing a lot of modding for DayZ now, so you've got a lot of experience with just the background of the game and how things tick and so on.
Yeah, there's still, you know, it still has some legacy functionality to it, so
Yep.
if you are into Arma 3 at all, things don't look things do look kind of familiar when you get into DayZ. That's kind of what helped me to get into DayZ so quickly, so it wasn't not beginning from zero.
Mm-hmm. What is the mod that you are the most proud of that you've done so far?
Well, the obvious question right now to it would be the Hype Train mod.
Why is that?
The one of the projects that I've spent not the most time on, but invested time and learned about more things. Before it, I was just doing some very basic scripting.
Yep.
And very little UI work. But with a mod, I was now faced with doing like importing models, animating wheels, getting to work on how do sound works, how do I make synchronized sound playing to, you know, how fast does the train go, and additionally on top of that still a lot of scripting which had to be done. So there are many aspects that I had to get into, which I'm very proud of being able to have managed all that, because it was a very steep learning curve for me first. But mod-wise is something and if it's not about the single mod itself, but the time I spent on the Arma 3 service I worked on, especially the community I've been sticking to for the last, I think, 4.5 years or maybe 5 years.
Yep.
Which is a German Alts Live server called 01, which is that's something I'm very proud of, because it's a very long-term project which you usually don't see in the term of community service. They usually don't stick around more than, I don't know, 1 year, maybe 2. And then people get bored, but the still up, server runs smooth, people are happy with it, and happy to see that still the foundations I laid down back in the days are still being worked with, and that's something I'm very proud of.
That's good to hear. It's always nice when you can feel proud of something you've been involved in. Yeah, it means you haven't wasted your time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so DayZ. You obviously played a lot of the mod.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I think I played like something which was a lot back when I had not so much time on playing video games at all.
Yep.
And I've been playing five times that in DayZ Standalone till now. Obviously spending a lot of time experimenting around with modding stuff, so that kind of takes into account of playtime there as well. But so played a lot of just casual playing, just enjoying the game content as it is without thinking about how to change stuff.
What is it about DayZ though that makes you love it so much?
I think it's several aspects, because it's not a typical game any other, because you have this aspect of really survival. So depending on how hardcore the server settings are, you have to pay a lot of attention to your environment. You have to manage your resources, so your food, water and stuff, all the time.
Yep.
Especially if you are on a server which that there's a lot of population on, you're in kind of constant fear that somebody is around the corner or waiting for you in the building, and that's especially if you have a little bit of gear. It's this kind of thrilling experience to keep surviving and keep making your way around the map. That's very unique to other games that are more short-paced and very repetitive also. I've never experienced something where I did the same, like where I walked the same route and had a similar experience. It's always something different happening, whether getting killed by someone on from behind, or meeting someone to walk with for hours and on different parts of the map. It never gets boring, which makes DayZ stand apart from other game like, I don't know, PUBG or something, which I also played. But it's that kind of, if you played it for 100 hours or more, it feels like you're doing the same every round, and that's kind of things like it's getting boring and not interested in that too much.
Yeah, but I play PUBG as well. I enjoy it. It's a good cannon fodder game when you don't have the hours to invest in a session in DayZ. It's easier to turn it on and just have a quick run around and try and kill someone, or usually in my case get killed by someone. But you can't beat DayZ for the full-on aspect of it, just how into it in a session you have to get. You get really involved, you get attached to your characters, and yeah,
exactly.
What keeps you still playing it though?
Right now I'm just being busy with scripting and modding and talking to people around it. So there's still a lot of features that have been added over the past couple of months which I didn't use yet. So there's still some things to discover. And even beyond that, I'm playing, many ideas pop up of what I could potentially do as a mod or as a game mode. And I'll also enjoy just, casually running around to get some, and just enjoy for a couple of hours or something. It's a very nice landscape. It's just around on the on the real world outside, just having some thoughts, but you don't have to go outside for that.
Yeah, exactly. No, I agree with you, mate. Um, Now, this is something that's going to be kind of unique from your perspective because you actually have the ability to do it. But is there anything, if there was anything you could add to the game, what would it be and why?
Um, that's a very good question. I won't mention the obvious things that are being added anyway, so I still like things like helicopters, and I would
Yep.
like to see more cars and more, interaction around base building. But I think what would be really nice if there's some aspect to the game where you have people working together to achieve a larger goal. So maybe you have to team up with maybe 10 people or something to get working on creating a larger enforced area where you are all safe and stuff, or maybe what was happening in some Arma 2 mods where you had an AI filled area and you had to go in with several people to clear it. Those kind of events where you work with other people and just cooperate. That's something I'll like to see in the vanilla experience. I'm sure people will eventually create mods which feature such things, but I'd like to just hop on some official service and experience the same there.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be, especially with the base building coming now as well. That's obviously going to be something that, to build a decent base as a solo person, like I usually run as, that's going to be very, very difficult. To get to track down a truck, to get enough supplies, to build it and source all those supplies. And it's just, that would be, gosh, so many hours of work as an individual. Whereas working as a team of people, yeah,
Exactly. Especially if some people come over and are not so friendly, and you spend a lot of time on gathering all the resources, and there are like maybe 3 or 5 people coming to your base, breaking in, and then it's all there. So
yeah.
I think you're better off cooperating with others in order to protect everybody and make people a bit safer.
Who is your favourite DayZ content creator?
I just died. Okay.
Yeah.
That's gonna be Frankie on PC because he was the one who kinda brought me and my friends into playing the Arma 2 mod.
Yeah.
Because we were watching his channel, and when he started doing these cinematic videos of him playing the game, some was pre-scripted, so there were some very nice events happening there, and it looked very great with his storytelling he did and the little intermissions when he was traveling around the map and you could see where he was running, and it was something that I enjoyed watching, and I'll definitely enjoy watching him if he does anything similar for standalone again.
Yeah. Which, if you believe the whispers, he is coming back to, well, I don't know about maybe DayZ Standalone, but according to Sada Plays, who he plays with quite regularly, he will be making content again soon. So, yeah, for those of us who are fans of his, I really don't care about all the controversy surrounding him. I'll leave that to other people to get their knickers in a twist over. But end of the day, for nearly everyone who got into DayZ, nearly everyone can tie it back to Frankie in some way, shape or form.
I personally don't care about controversy around somebody. I just look at the content he's doing and I enjoy that, and that's everything that matters for me at this point.
Well, that's a noble thing, mate, but we've got some controversy coming up about you later, but we won't jump ahead of ourselves, will we?
Okay.
Okay. Status reports. Do you read them? And if so, what do you think of them?
Yes, I do read them. I think I've read every single one that's available in the public because I like to follow the game's development since the very early release when I purchased the game in 2014. It's for me having some insights into software development as well. There's a lot of information there that gives you an idea on how far the development is, how good things are doing, and also there's a lot of hopes and motivation to be involved with DayZ when you see them publishing some very early teasers of anything. I remember when I first saw the very basic of moving cars, I was very excited because that was something I was looking forward since the alpha release, which was missing cars entirely. And it's things like that status reports, a little surprise if there's something in there that's new, that's interesting. So I keep reading them, and I also think that they are very important for other people as well, so people get an idea of what's happening and to see the developers going through good and bad times as well. So you know it's something happening, and it's all not just good, and not everything is working perfectly. So hopefully some people who read and understand the status reports can kind of understand why there's been so many delays and stuff like that.
It's definitely been the case from lately. There's some dizzying highs and some terrifying lows with the status reports and the information in them. But again, we'll talk more about that later. Okay. What, if any, advice would you give to the DayZ dev team if they happen to watch this interview?
My advice would be to finish what they promised to the people. Recently, they published this feature log explanation on the latest status report, telling everyone what will be in the 1.0 release and whatnot. But anything past that, if they mentioned they're gonna add, for example, helicopters, they need to do it, and they need to do it quickly. Though they shouldn't wait for another 6 months or 8 months in the year 2019 to finish what they originally promised. Like not they, but the people who started the game itself. So of course some features are going to be missing because over the development of the game it just turned out to not fit in, but anything the people want and that it's possible to get into the game by default, they should aim to get that in quite quickly.
I'll ask you now, do you reckon that they should hold on calling it 1.0 or go ahead with it as they've planned?
In the situation right now, there's no other choice than calling it 1.0 because they announced this year to be the year of DayZ, and they announced that they will release it as full title this year. So if they would break that very big promise in a way, people would be more disappointed from that than them finishing off as possible and doing some good aftercare and having some follow-up patches. It's important to have those features that we have right now polished and working in game, because it would be I think if they had a state of the game where they continue with something like buggy vehicles or something for another 3 or 4 months instead of finishing those now and focusing on them and adding more features to a very polished base game later on in post patches from post release.
I tell you what, if I don't find any food soon, I think I'll be joining you on the dead list. I am yellow healthy, I am red hungry, and I am bread thirsty.
Yeah, I'm looking for food as well. I'm currently at the you spawned initially.
Ah, okay.
I respawned there.
I'm just in Berezino now. I just killed a zombie and it didn't have any food on it. God damn it. Yeah, I think I'll be dying very, very shortly. Okay. What is your biggest gripe with DayZ?
Um, yeah, that's a good question. I think there's two aspects. There's one the game itself, and then the surroundings of the game. Within the game, it was that vehicles took very long for to get into. They're still not fully in the game, so
Yep.
that's quite a while to have something like vehicles in a multiplayer game implemented. I'm kind of disappointed that it took so long and that we only get selected few vehicles instead of tons of vehicles from other titles like Arma 2 or Arma 3, which had like millions of them. It's something that I like to just drive around the map, and I'm not too happy with the civilian sedan, so I have to stick with the cargo V3S driving.
Or the Lada.
And the other, yeah.
Is that something that you modders are going to be able to easily bring in, is extra vehicles?
Yes, totally. Vehicle implementation is actually quite advanced and quite open.
Yep.
So from what they published right now publicly, I can see that it should be no problem adding vehicles with multiple access and stuff like that to the game. Not so much truck vehicles maybe, and also helicopters. We have to wait for their implementation for those, but you can, just pretty much at every everyday drive you want to see, or every cars you liked in Arma 2 or Arma 3.
Yep.
If you just create a proper model, proper textures, and then it's just a matter of setting up configs and animating the model. But I know that many people are skilled enough to do this in Arma 3, so hopefully some of them will add their vehicles to DayZ as well, so we have a larger variety of vehicles to choose from.
That will be good. That will be really, really good, I think, for making the player base a lot happier. The more stuff there is to do, the more choice there is, that's a win-win for everyone. It's just going to make people happy.
Yeah.
What are you looking forward to the most in DayZ?
I'm looking forward to a situation where, what I was saying before, there's everything that has been promised is online, and people are coming back for that and, playing the content, to have the larger communities forming and being part of those, playing with more people, getting to know more people.
Yep.
And then see some community ideas being made. There are already some that are interesting that I played, but I like to see more of those to get more content out of the game everyone bought. I'll be looking forward to, and I hope that people are not too afraid to get back into DayZ at this point.
Yeah, that's what worries me, is that if they release 1.0 with just the shell of the game, lacking in a lot of content, not so much features. There's some features that will be missing, but it's more the content that's going to be missing. That people who do come back for 1.0 are just going to say, "Fuck it."
Yeah, that's kind of the issue, because everybody knows DayZ has been from the media side of things in getting very much getting a lot of attention. So everything major happening in DayZ, you can read it a day or after on media outlets from game magazines and stuff. When beta was announced, you read it everywhere.
Yep.
And when the full game releases, every website, every blog will write about it and inform people, all right, the game is leaving early access now. It's it's finished in some regard, people will say. And they see, all right, so this is missing, this is missing, this is missing. How is this finished? Is this what they call finished? And it's going to be hard to communicate to everybody that this is not really the final thing they had in mind, and they just need a little bit of more time to add those desired features for everybody to really call it a full title.
The marketing team are going to have to be working overtime to sell it. it's going to be a hard sell. It's really going to be a hard sell. But fingers crossed they can do it. But I don't envy them their job. Batty and Martin and the new fella on the team, I don't envy them their job. It's going to be very fucking hard.
Yeah, yeah. I think they should be able to handle that, because when I got it correctly, the console release on the Xbox was quite successful, and people were very much interested in that. But it also had the fact to it that the Xbox community never experienced something like DayZ before, so it was a relatively easy ground to get DayZ rolling there, because people had no expectations of what could have been, and they only see, okay, that's in now, and have a lot of things to experience first and to enjoy first until patches arrive on Xbox to bring the content that the PC players were looking to.
Okay, now we're going to move on to some rapid fire questions. So just say the first thing that pops into your head, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Ready and go. Favorite long range weapon?
SKS.
Least favorite long range weapon?
SVD.
Favorite automatic weapon?
Definitely M4.
Least favorite automatic weapon?
That's gonna be the AUG or AUG, whatever you pronounce it.
Yep. KOS?
Definitely not.
First person or third person?
Personally, I'm a third person player.
Favorite server?
I think I played, or I had the most fun on the Trump's Wall PvP server right now. So that's, at least for now, my favorite server to play on.
Yep. Favorite place on the map?
That's gonna be the area of, it's hard to pronounce. I think it's called Novotmitrosk or something, which is where the bridge is, and this new area which was lacking in Arma 2. It's just looking very nicely there. And I also took all my header images there from the central buildings on top of the standing there. Like
on the bridge there?
Not the bridge. Oh, Town Hall. Town Hall was the word.
Yep.
Standing on top of the Town Hall, looking down into the valley with, seeing the trains, seeing the buildings there. It's a very nice scene.
Yep. Last question, public or private service?
Private service.
Private, you said?
Yeah, private, because I do enjoy playing on public service, but I'd like to play on a little different settings than what the public servers are configured to.
Yeah.
And I like to, meet the same people over and over again if I wish to, so I'm playing mostly on private servers.
It's good when you've got a good community.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, now we move on to the intelligent part of the interview, the viewer questions. And the first question comes from Jason648. What kind of server performance loss will there be, if any, with regards to the hype train?
I don't have any figures on it yet, so I can't show any numbers, but from the experiments I've been doing together with Jacob on it, the performance loss shouldn't be too high. There's some aspects to consider there. If you want the train to just drive on the server from A to B and stop at some stations or something, the performance impact from the server should be next to zero.
Yep.
Because it's just broadcasting the state that, all right, I'm running now and I'm going there, and the client handles the rest. You want to enable players to be able to drive the train and, accelerate and decelerate and pick other paths on whichever occasion they want to do that. That's a bit of more traffic coming through. So if you've got someone who is mad with, you know, constantly speeding up and accelerating, and your server is completely full of players, it might get a little bit network intense. Generally, it's nothing that's gonna kill the server if they tend to use the mod in a multiplayer environment.
Okay. And he says, I run Trump's Wall 120 slot server, and while full it gets between 25 to 35 server FPS. Do you think it will be able to handle the train mod once finished?
About them. Yeah. I think that shouldn't be an issue, especially if you just set up configuration where the train goes around the map, stopping at different stations to people to just, you know, hop on and travel along if they like to, or just have a traveling merchant driving around the map. It should be no problem at all. And I think well optimized, I can get the modification until release. Should be able to handle manual drivers there. Drops for server or client performance as well.
Awesome. Okay, the next question is from everyone's favourite DayZ content creator, the one, the only, Renee, barely infected. Renee says, one very big part of DayZ Mod and now DayZ Standalone were the cinematics. One of my favourite videos by Carwin Lucha comes to mind, and you've seen that one. A big part of these cinematics was the mission planner, where you could control AI, etc. This is something that is not available in DayZ Standalone. Is this something that could be created by modders? It would be such a great, strong tool, or such a strong tool for YouTube video makers.
Yes, I agree. That's definitely something that's very important. I've been talking to some people over the possibilities to get control over the AI, so animals and infected, and have that exposed in script. Because as of right now, you are not able to just, you know, tell the goat or whatever, please go there now. Still missing, but that should hopefully be added sometime soon. And when they do, having thematic shots, so planning camera movements and triggering different events to just say, okay, when you come around that corner, let people start walking. It should be definitely possible. In fact, in terms of just, you know, camera movements and configuration, there's already a mod in development by Danny Dog, who's experimenting around with it, exposing all camera settings on the community offline mode right now. Like that, together with keyframe features, should be enough for people to plan and create a scripted short movie or whatever. Maybe even working well in multiplayer, so you have human actors that do things and maybe just add some planned AI paths around them. Should be working fine.
Awesome, that does sound quite interesting. I know there's a lot of people out there who would be very, very keen for that. Just to, you know, I can imagine the likes of Fubar Bundy being able to use it well for the cinematics that he does for his videos. So yeah, that will be definitely something that would be greatly appreciated by the community if you can do it.
Yeah, it's either gonna be me or somebody else. I think there are many other people who have some ideas on how to tackle it, and if somebody has a good idea and wants to commit to that, but ever with Danny Talk and base everything they do on his camera mod there, and then we should have for people to create some cinematic videos everybody will enjoy then.
I just found a generator and I've got Christmas lights on me.
Nice. I'm struggling to survive right now.
I'm just heading to the fire station in Berezino.
Alright. I might be able to get there.
I've got a little bit of food on me if you can get here. I'm back to being white healthy again. But damn, you move slow when you're holding a generator. That's what I mean. It's going to be so hard as an individual playing the game if you don't have a vehicle, and even just getting a truck up and running.
Yeah, that's going to be hard. Again, if you're alone, people will need to walk a lot to carry all the necessary parts for the vehicles. So that's going to be quite challenging. But I think it's fine to have some more gameplay features, so not everything is easy and given to you so easily.
Oh Jesus, I'm getting spanked by zombies at the moment. Wow, the fire station's changed a bit.
Yes, they updated it.
Wow. I'm not even sure how to start a generator. Oh well, I'll leave it for now. Okay, he also says, keep up the great work and thank you for being open and approachable to the community, which we'll talk more about later as well. LB Master wants to know, which tools do you use?
I assume for the development.
Yeah, for the modding.
Rely on my personal favorites for development. I'm waiting for the official tools to be available to the public in a few weeks, most likely. So right now my setup is using one of this. It's a family of editors, which is quite popular along software developers for being cross-platform. So it's Java based, and it's called IntelliJ. It's just just a personal favorite. It's just right now, without having some specific plugins for DayZ, it's literally a text editor with a little bit of extra features. So there's nothing too exciting about that, because the official tools for DayZ are not released, including the necessary tools to create and import models for DayZ. I'm currently relying on what's still compatible from the Armor 3 tools. So I connected my editor with some things from the free version of the tools, and that's enough for the development right now. But I'll be switching over to the workbench, so including the script editor there, as soon as it's released.
Okay, I have to quickly interrupt this interview right now and call out Sumrak and tell him he lied to me. He lied to my face. I remember asking him, I'm certain I asked him in the interview I just did with him about the fire station in particular, and whether we would ever be able to enter into the area that's all closed off, and he said no. And I'm running around that area right now. Oh, I've got a bone to pick with you, Adam, when I speak to you next time. But this is awesome.
Maybe he didn't know back then. Yeah, it's good.
This is awesome. I'm loving it. Absolutely loving it. Oh, this is just... It's almost like a new map, finding a new building that you've never been in before.
Exactly.
I'm going out onto the roof and... I've got a big smile on my face, just exploring something. Yep, I've finished exploring it now, but yeah, this is the sort of stuff they need to do more of, because it just makes you so happy to be playing around in something that you always wanted to be able to get into and you never could, and now you can. That's made me very happy. Okay. LB Master also says, for how long have you programmed and scripted in DayZ?
Yeah, for DayZ, I think I answered that before. I started when I really started actually doing stuff with the very first release of the stress tests.
Yep.
The very first one, which I invested my first day of development in creating the community offline mode, and released that. And I've been spending some planning for projects I'm currently working on before that. So when I knew, okay, these are the features to be added to the next patch, I started looking for locations on the map to do certain things and to look into what assets are available. So I would say for the last couple of maybe 8 months or something, I've been involved with DayZ development overall.
Okay. Fades Gaming wants to know, what is your favourite item in-game? Well, that may have changed now with all this extra stuff in-game now.
Yeah, it hasn't. My favorite in-game item would be the shovel, because of how many ways I can use it. I had to use the shovel for many hours until I was clever enough to disable infected on the train development, because I was constantly driving over them and having the problem of the train derailing when it encountered the infected objects, so I had to bury them all the time. And I also like to be able to just dig some stashes underground when I've got no resources or nor time to make a larger base. And I can hit people with it, so it's pretty much multifunctional tool for me. And I very much enjoy using it. I always have a shovel with me when I find one.
I'm looking forward to the return of field shovels if they're not back already.
I don't know, would be very nice, especially if they fit into your backpack then.
Yeah, which the old entrenching tools we used to call them in the Aussie Army, they did. Oh, what have I found here? I have found a rangefinder and a pistol suppressor.
Oh, that's nice. Without a pistol, I assume.
Yeah, no pistol. I got a shotgun, just no ammo.
That's a pity. I can hit people with it still.
Fades also wants to know, can the hype train have a picture of Dean in the cabin?
Yeah, it already has.
Hey!
Been doing some custom textures and stuff like that, and one version of it will be something memeish with stuff like that. 1 second. Right, somebody wanting some package I took for him. Alright, back.
Okay, and he also says he's willing to help you test impact on server performance if you are not sure.
I'm sure he's willing to test that. If some people want to test out the mods, should be releasing pretty soon as well.
Yep.
They should message me on some social channels, but I think we'll get to that later on again.
Yeah. Okay, Wolfgeist, thanks for the offline mode, it's great. What do you think about the modding potential for DayZ?
The modding potential is probably the highest I've ever seen in either any Bohemia title or in games in general. First of all, usually with other games you at least not officially see any major mod support. Something like GTA 5, which has a lot of mod, or other GTA titles, were never really accepted officially, and Bohemia always had modding supported, and had many lessons learned from previous titles in regards of what to do to make the game more moddable, and they said in previous statements that they built DayZ with modding in mind as well, and you see it in the game. So as an example, all the configs for vehicles, weapons, items, or stuff like that is completely exposed. I would say most of the might be interested in editing or just accessing things like player movements, the state of a player containing like health and diseases and all stuff like that, the logic to make custom interactions with the world to be able to interact with other players. Everything they did for the base game, the base game, wrote it as if scripting or development team would be modest, so everything is done in script in that regard, and they only kept things engine side that were necessarily not being exposable, or they didn't want to expose because of security reasons, but everything else is open, and they will be releasing some documentation and examples for it, and other community members, including me, will follow up with publishing their own findings and tips and tricks on it. So I think the variety of things you can do in DayZ as a sandbox for modding are, I would say, nearly unlimited. Cannot make a completely other kind of game out of DayZ, so you cannot make it a, I don't know, space simulator or something. I would be rather surprised if somebody managed to do that, but anything that's kind of like DayZ, so it's multiplayer, it's an open world thing. You can create anything out of it. You could make DayZ its very own open world survival game if you wanted to do that and never had the resources nor time to get involved with like raw game engines like CryEngine or Unreal Engine. I think for beginners it's easier to start with something that things like network synchronization or stuff like that is taken care of by the engine behind DayZ, and they can just focus on creating game mode ideas or mod ideas on how to do it and implement everything with as less pain as possible. That's something that's very important. You don't have to struggle too much. You can just basically look up how do they do it, how did other people suggest I do it, and just I've been asked by some people in the past on if there are ideas they want to do in DayZ, either as server owner or as mod developer possible, and I'm happy to say that none of the inquiries people had or ideas, I had to say no, that's not possible. So I think mod idea or gameplay idea in mind, they should be able to do it in DayZ and do it in a enjoyable way. So development is a lot of fun in this game.
Okay. Fishy Bong Waters. Where would you point someone with very basic modding experience on games older than most DayZ players to go learning modding for DayZ?
Right now there's not really a point of getting into it. I would wait another few weeks until we have beta or eventually the full game release.
Yep.
Because then we'll have on one side the official resources, so an official documentation for how things work in general. You have the ability to look into the game files to find out everything you need basically. That's from the official side or from the existing content, and then I'm very certain that like an Arma 3 community websites or blogs showing some examples on how to do things will appear, and they'll hopefully also be able to comment and expand an official wiki-like documentation for everything. So if somebody wants to get into modding once it's probably supported, the way to go. And of course, if other mods are coming out and people are okay with you learning from their mods, so they're not you know, protecting the source code in any way, then from my experience it's best to look at how other people did it. If you know that guy did something I want to achieve, or partially that's some part of what I need, what he has achieved, you can just look it up. So I'm happy to also see the workshop there, where you can look up other mods and find out how to do things.
I'll ask it now so I don't forget it. Are you planning on doing any videos on how to mod?
I'm not too certain about videos, because I'm usually not the talking kind of person, but I'll be doing some articles and like blog-styled articles on some aspects of modding and scripting.
Yep.
Giving some, you know, good advice to people who struggle with some of the development or some odd behavior that needs to be explained. But if people want it, and if I find topics that are worth talking over in the video, I won't say that I won't consider it in the future.
Okay, I honestly think you would find there's a market out there. It'd be a niche market, but there would definitely be people out there who would be very interested in learning more about modding.
Yeah, I'm quite sure they do. We'll just have to wait what other resources pop up, and maybe everything's explained. If not, to get requests for people having me explain anything in whatever format that will be.
Yep. As Tor, this is where I mentioned a little bit of controversy. And I saved this question for last because I figured you'd want to be able to address it in detail. So 2.5 years ago, Macca from the Custom Combat Gaming made a script that ran trains in Chinaris in the Arma 3 setup, and he linked to a video which I believe you've seen as well. Are you Arkensor the same dude, or did you come from the CCG community? If not, then this is a bit of a rip-off, and credit for making trains should go to Macca and the Custom Combat Gaming community. What do you have to say about that?
Yes, I've seen the video.
Well, firstly, were you inspired to do it because of that video?
I've been inspired to do the train mod based on another train mod, which is not for DayZ, but Arma 3 from somebody called Seth Duda. I've been playing his train mod for Arma 3 and I enjoyed it, and when I saw from Arma 2 being present in the current DayZ release as well, I thought, alright, so let's try to get this working for DayZ as well. Not the first one to do train mods. I've been other people, or how they did things, or what they did in terms of features. And there are some videos of people making trains going back to the very, very early days of Arma 2. So it's not on my original idea to do a train mod for mere titles, DayZ, because they were pretty much working with the DayZ mod in Arma 2 as well then, I guess. I also never claimed to have been this idea. I'm just the one doing it for DayZ right now, and I'm of course getting some inspiration in terms of what features to offer from other video creators, but until I saw it, as I saw the video posted, I was never aware of Macca doing anything like it.
Yep.
It's yeah. If I would have claimed world's first whatever train mod and I invented this, it would probably be controversy. But right now, it's just me picking up some people's idea. So it was also a commonly known community wish. So I don't see any issues with it or having the need to credit anyone else for.
Yeah. No, I totally agree, man. It's not like it's a trademark fucking idea you're ripping off or anything like that. It's a train. I don't think anyone owns the copyright to trains.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen, man. Of why he's asking, and if it would have been the case that, you know, Macca was the only one doing it and he was the first, and I would have claimed to have the idea, that would definitely be something naughty to do and not credit him, but that's not the case for this situation. So I think it's fine with me doing this in this format, because what he did was also, I think, never mentioned for public release. He did it for video or something. That's a different story than me doing a feature complete mod for people to actually use.
Okay. Now is where I try to sound intelligent with the final questions. I had a message sent to me in one of the many DayZ groups I'm a member of when I posted there asking for questions. The question was, do you feel guilty, or does he feel guilty? And initially I didn't understand the reference, but they pointed me to my interview with Spaggy, and where Spaggy says that offline mode isn't DayZ at all. Now, I think we can go back to, I think it was Barely Infected, who said thank you for, oh no, that was Wolf Guys, thank you for the offline mode, it's great. So I don't think everyone agrees with him on this, but what are your thoughts on it? Do you feel guilty for releasing it?
There's many aspects to that. There's indeed some form of guilt of me releasing it, but not for the reasons I think the author asked the question. I felt guilty, and I also kind of apologized to Martin, who had a very rough evening that day, because when they turned on the stress test service and people were playing, they expected people to, you know, just when they shut it off, people stop playing and they can work on whatever they plan for their schedule.
Yep.
And with me creating the ability to continue playing and also explore features which were not kind of accessible in the because you couldn't teleport anywhere, you couldn't spawn anything. That's something that forced them a day later to release the official version to play online. On what the offer most likely meant is I named the offline mode DayZ Community single player. Martin also suggested to change the name, which I happily followed, because calling it the DayZ single player would indeed make it look like this is the DayZ experience, but you're just playing alone. But that's not the case. So I renamed it to offline mode, but a proper name for it most likely gonna be Community Sandbox, and I'm currently considering renaming it again to that.
I like that name. I do.
You know,
Community Sandbox. I like the sound of that.
It was originally meant for people to continue playing when stress test servers get offline and always be up to date with them. So they just, you know, if people like you who live in different time zones that are not Europe, they tend to miss all the stress test sessions which were only, you know, 1 hour or less, or people like me with very poor internet, they need to download all the files first, and some of them could not download fast enough to be able to still get on the service. So for those people, I originally created it.
Yep.
And then it evolved in getting some more features added for, you know, exploration, spawning items, teleporting around, God mode, playing around with the features. That's something that I consider sandbox, and that's what it is right now. But I think people were mostly happy with me releasing it because they really wanted to play that first version. You can also, I think that's good, reflected in a good way by the download counts. I think I looked it up yesterday and it was nearly at 30,000 downloads, which is quite a lot considering there's an official mode for it as well. So for releasing it, I had disclaimers in it that this is A, nothing official, B, it's the game itself which they experience is still in heavy development. I left a link to the feedback tracker for people to submit feedback they encounter in game.
Yep.
Of issues they encounter in game. So I never actively tried to claim that this is what DayZ is like, especially after the name change. So I don't feel guilt for that. So some guilt of bad timing and having other people to do something overnight because of my release. That's another aspect.
Are you close to the fire station yet?
No, I died in the meantime again. It's very hard to find food.
Whereabouts are you now?
Let me have a look. I'm at... Nitz... I can't pronounce this. Nitz Hanoye. So it's this... on the middle of the east coast with a little harbor in it.
Okay, I'll
building.
start running south towards
So
you.
it's above the factory. I'll just run the road towards north to the shipwreck. Maybe we can meet during the interview.
I've just got a random calling out to me. I'm just running away from them. Okay. How would a server owner go about contacting you or other members of the modding community for help in modding their server, or even content creators looking to do some Frankie and PC style mods for their content?
For contacting me personally, they can hit me up on Twitter, either publicly or with a private message, or message me on my Discord tag. You can just leave both in the video description, I think.
Now, I'll get you to send me any
also
links to anything in particular, but I'll have most of your details in the description of the video. If anyone is wanting to contact you, check down in the description. I'll have links to his Twitter and anything else there as well.
And I think if people want to engage in development and want to exchange with other people currently developing, my friends Benny, Jacob and I own a Discord server where we discuss all topics and have some people who are already modding on it, and I think we'll just leave another invite link to that, and people have questions, they can just join there and find other people who might face the same issues and resolve it.
Awesome. What is the modding community like? Now, based on that question, that last viewer question we had, I'm not sure if he was a friend of that Macker or anything like that, but is there a lot of enmity between different communities? Yeah, or are you all one big community, or how does it work? What's it like?
I would say for in general the modding community, or I would say development community around DayZ, because it's not only modding but also tools and utilities around it, is right now very cooperative, because only people are involved that are really passionate for the game and that either like the game or want to support it. People are just not in because they want to bother with dealing with undocumented code and having to figure out everything by themselves. So right now it's very nice. I see some competition from server owners or community owners, you know, to get this done, to be outstanding from other communities, so in order to grow their own server. But that's thing. But from my experience, what's gonna soon happen when the workshop launches with modding support is that some people, and I already had one of them, are gonna try to profit off of this idea. Luckily it was only one person, took the community offline mode, and instead of contributing to it and leaving his credits there, he took the whole thing, translated it into Russian and called it his own thing. And you could literally download it, look at the source code and see that he just, you know, removed the credits and the welcome screen Danny, Jacob and I were in. His own, and acted like it was his thing. I think that's going to happen again, and I'd be happy to see the community rejecting such things, so not using ripped off mods and cheap copycats, just not downloading them and support the original Office. And I know this this was my idea, and I originally made it, was a big topic, or still is, in Arma 3. It depends on what the developers do, what the general attitude for each other is, and also what the public considers okay and not okay. If everybody is fine with people ripping stuff and they just use their things, people should not wonder that everyone starts ripping, because that's quickly and easily made content. right? We don't want to have people rip other people things off, because that just makes the original authors angry, upset, and eventually leave the community to go some place less toxic. I think it should be all right. But now people are very friendly. People mostly work together because right now there's nothing documented, so people eventually have to work together to figure problems out and help each other with their experience they had. And I would be happy if this kind of behavior and interaction between the people involved with development would continue in this fashion in the future.
Okay. Anything new coming up that you can tell us about?
Yeah, I can, because I've said it in the original teaser from the hype train that there would be more info coming soon. Release date is set for the day the Steam workshop will launch, so when that's coming online, there's gonna be whatever version that will be from the hype train. Of course, I'm trying to get as many features in as possible until then, but there's definitely gonna be some version of that coming. Also including a roadmap for things I want to add in the future. There are many things and ideas I got from people that I want to implement over time that's not going to make it into the first version. After that initial release, I will be working on reviving or porting over the experience from Arma 3 roleplay server. Me and my friends have to just try out and see how that works in DayZ, so I'll eventually work in on some form of roleplay community framework there, as well as contributing with or collaborating with others to create some gameplay enhancing mods. For example, Jacob Mango's working on an inventory mod, which kind of recreates how the inventory system works visually and both functionally.
I've seen that and I absolutely love it. For me, I don't think you should be able to access your backpack while it's on your pack. It should be something you have to take off to be able to access. It'll make people think more tactically about where they place items. If you go putting a gun in your backpack, you shouldn't be able to pull that gun out and use it in seconds. Hell no. I love the ideas he's got, and you should be able to access your vest, your pockets and your shirt or jacket or whatever while you're on the move. Maybe not sprinting, but definitely while jogging or walking.
Exactly, and it's this kind of mods I would like to personally pursue development of, and with other side projects I'm just playing around with and seeing if they work out, but I'll try to look for what people want. So if I see many people asking for, I don't know, they want to have more kind of tomatoes in the game, then I'm probably gonna do just that. So it kind of depends on what people really want, what people need, and if there's anything people publicly discuss all the time, they can probably expect me doing my attempt on that then.
I just found a potato. Haven't seen one of them in ages.
I found a tomato, that's why I got the idea to say tomato.
I couldn't imagine eating a potato raw. If you were starving, I could imagine doing it, but yeah. Okay. The hype train. How's it going to work? Like, the question I have is, there's existing trains and stuff already on the map. How is the mod going to work with, if you're driving the train at full speed and then suddenly you come up to a parked train?
Yeah. So the train itself, as I said before, has some basic ability what you would expect. So we can drive around the map on all rails. There's nothing. There's also not predefined or anything. So if there's an intersection or rail crossing to split up lanes or anything. You can just drive and choose directions however you like. If you encounter other train parts, so mainly engine parts or wagons with cargo on them, right now you just couple those wagons and then drive along with it. So I'll probably reduce the maximum speed allowed to have those, because right now you can drive I don't know, 100 kilometers per hour and you just crash into them and they will be fine and just continue with the train. But you should be able to smack things out of the way if you are the faster and the heavier object. So I will try to add some basic physics implementation to that. Not yet sure how that will work out. Only be able to interact with the surrounding, but it's also going to be configurable, because I can imagine people on the multiplayer server with a setup where you have like a traveling merchant configured as a server owner, and you have got some douchebag who's placing like some barrels or anything on the railroad, and the train would stop or crash into them and derail. That's maybe something you don't want to have on your server, so be able to toggle that on and off and just say, alright, any object in the way is just going to be ignored, or say you can drive through anything, but everything that's in front of a train or drives into it will just be blown up or anything like that. So freedom of how it interacts with other world objects.
Right, I've just got a bit of a zombie problem. Oh, I'm getting smacked up.
I initially had all the existing train objects on the map, so the wagons and all its cargo removed, because I thought it might be too much on the map, and it looked very ugly if it was driving through it. But since I added support for coupling wagons by driving against them, and having the cargo also carried over to the new train formation and have it carry along with you, I left everything on the map, so you can existing train you see, or you can spawn in trains and wagons at will if you want, as a server owner then, and just drive around the map and have some fun.
Now, I asked you this last time, so you've actually had a bit of time to think about it. One thing that, like, I imagine is you've got a mate who's got a radio. You're a squad of, say, 3 or 4 people, and someone says, mate, the train's coming. It's coming along the tracks. Are you going to be able to go to the tracks and find a junction and pull a switch that forces them to go to, say, a dead end in the line or something like that, so you can ambush them and you can attack the train? Or is that not going to be something that's possible to do?
It's definitely possible, especially after seeing some gameplay from Red Dead Redemption, with this, spoiler alert, one story mission to confront a train and rob it, stop it on the tracks. I think there will be an option to sabotage or rail intersections where the train would usually switch tracks.
Yep.
To say, alright, so only left is allowed or only right is allowed, or maybe even make the train derail there because it's completely messed up. I think that's not going to make it into the very first release, but I'm trying to add it down the road very soon.
Awesome, because that would, to me, would just add so much to the whole thing with the trains, knowing that you can ambush them, and I think that would add so much to it, rather than being something that can be simply steered. They can easily just steer around any diversion you may put on the tracks.
Yeah, it's even more interesting if you combine that with a player-driven train. So it's not only some automatic transportation that you're
that's what I was more leaning towards. Someone
the way up, but it's a player with maybe even some mates on board the train, maybe some cargo.
Yep.
If it wasn't there, you would basically be fully protected and would be happy to just travel around the map until you're safe. And with that, you are still have to constantly pay attention to your surroundings, maybe pre-check the train track on foot or by vehicle to make sure that you're safely to drive to the next station or something. That's something that I think fits very, very well into the DayZ feeling, with this constant stress of something maybe happening or not happening. Maybe you're alone, or maybe there are many people around you who are already watching you in their scopes and ready to fire. That's something that should be in.
No, I really like that idea. The last question I have about the hype train is, I've seen this comment and heard a lot from people. Are you going to be able to turn it into a mobile base?
I'm not able to confirm it, because I'm not sure if the base building mechanics from DayZ itself are ready, because I'd like to use them for it.
Yep.
But either way, maybe it takes a little more time or it's gonna be quicker. I do plan for server owners, or potentially also players, to add objects to the train, like you would place down a barrel somewhere and then it would stay there with the train and travel along. Oh, are you on the tracks?
Yes, I am.
Oh, hello.
Here is some food for you, my friend.
We finally found each other. Great. Thank you very much.
There is an absolute stack of pears. And not a single one of them was glitched. I have no idea how to do the hand heart thing. I'll just press random numbers.
Nice.
Nope, that's not the one.
I think it's...
There we go, F3, F3.
F3, F4, something different.
No, it's not F4. That's F4.
That's not so nice.
No.
So yeah, I'm thinking about players being able to attach additional objects to the train, like barricade windows or build up some walls on the flat cargo wagon.
Yep.
And eventually building like a mobile base on it. It's if a server owner allows it and is fine with one or many people having them on the server, because they're going to be quite powerful. It's a base, it's mobile, you can drive it all around the map because it's a closed circle. It's going to be very powerful, so it should be very resource consuming to build one. But I'm aiming to support it either with a vanilla base building mechanics, so people can use it the way they are expecting it from the default game, or with some own mechanics and controls to be able to do that. Place down walls, have some storage placed there, have some, I don't know, campfire on there. That's gonna be... I'll be adding trying out all the emotes.
Nope, I just cut some sticks so you can make your backpack bigger.
Ah, that's nice.
There we go. How are you hydration wise? There's some drinks for you as well. And I don't know how you are food wise.
Oh, thank you. I run all along the cities and found nothing.
You poor bugger.
That's... I think I died 3 times during...
I got close.
This interview already.
I was down to red health. I didn't get to flashing red, but I came close. But then, yeah, Berezino was just stock full of almost, I would say, too much. But, yeah. Okay. Who should we all be watching in the modding community for exciting stuff? Obviously, there's yourself. You've mentioned Jacob Mango and Danny Dog. Tell us a little bit more about them and anyone else that you're aware of.
Yeah, so Jacob and Danny have been on several things, especially the community offline mode, and we've been trying a lot of things. So we do have some ideas in common that we would like to develop on. Both very nice people. But there's also some other communities or groups forming that are present on our Discord as well, with creating a Stalker mod for anyone who's familiar with the Stalker series, to bring that feeling to DayZ.
Yep.
And I think they also released some teasers for things like an effect and a poisonous zone and stuff. That looks very promising. Many people doing a lot of custom models around adding more buildings, and also I think I saw someone who worked on a modular based building system, something similar to Hammer Epoch or something. But I think it would be best if people are interested to see what's coming or what people are working on. Just join the Discord and see the people posting their ideas, screenshots, and progress videos in the showcase channel.
Well, I'll also give a shout out to my boy Septic Falcon as well. If you're interested in mods, he's doing a fantastic video series at the moment. Exciting mods for DayZ, I believe it's called. Sorry, Septic, if I got the name wrong, but yeah, I've watched every single one of them so far. They all look quite fascinating. He's covering a lot of exciting mods out there, snow and horses and God knows what else.
Yeah, exactly.
This question is a bit of a funny one, but it's one I asked last time, and I wanted to make sure I asked it again because there's a lot of people out there saying that the devs have fucked it, which I don't agree with. I don't agree with their decision, the way they're releasing 1.0, but they haven't fucked the game. You know, what I have played so far in the last hour and a half with you is fucking amazing. It is running like silk. So smooth. The core of the game is where it should be. But there's a lot of people out there who say that you guys in the modding community, you're going to be the saving grace of DayZ, that you're going to save it. How do you and your mates feel about that?
Yeah.
It's a lot of weight.
Some truth. Yeah. Some truth to it. But it's not a one-sided question. You cannot say yes or no. One thing is that people have to consider that modders who do this in their free time, or maybe are not fully employed and just being in school or high school or anything. Me, like university student, we have a lot of time, so I've got no problem spending all week and all weekend, maybe 5 or 7 hours a day working on anything. If you compare that to the developers that work on the game, which is their everyday job, they don't have so much time to work on that. So they, they have to. It's not just them doing one thing, like we do now. So, for best example would be the train. I'm able to make so much progress on it in such a short time because it's the only thing I'm focusing on.
Yeah.
I don't have to care about other parts of the development team to finish their systems first or to wait for an engine change to do anything. I'm just focusing on this one project. I only have to care about anything related to that. And that's a whole different story if you compare it to the development of the whole game, which has many that need to be considered. There are many ideas that the development team has, and they of course want to make the game as good as they can, but they have to reduce it down to what they are able to do in time. And they, just did this and said, all right, try to do more, but this is it for the 1.0 experience. We are not able to do more right now. And they said they're gonna deliver some more content later on. People who say, all right, so you said it's I think Eugen said something like 2 weeks or 4 weeks, I don't know, to add one weapon.
Yeah, 2 weeks
to the game.
2 weeks for each weapon.
Maybe one person on it, or maybe multiple person, because it's not only just adding the model, but you need to animate it, and you have to add some functionality to it with the configs and stuff like that. So of work. If you are working with multiple people, you have to wait for each other to finish them. And I'm pretty certain that the development team has to do more than one task at a time.
Yeah.
It's not like anyone sits around bored and drives around with his chair all day. They have a lot of things to do. They have priorities to follow, and that's why they cannot create so much content in such a short time as community members would do, especially groups. If you have a group of people who create, for example, in Army 3 was a group who created a lot of military assets and model all that stuff. That's usually groups of 10 people or more, which all do this in every possible minute in their free time. So they are able to achieve a lot, but they don't have to care about the base game. The development team is doing their part now by finishing the game, making a solid basis for community members to mod on, because if the game has stayed like it was in 0.62 or the state before, it would have been, I would say, nearly impossible to create decent quality mods for it as it is possible right now. Not forget about them investing resources, spending more time on things to be able to offer the community to also interact with it and build on top of it. So they have to do two things: create the platform, there's a sandbox for other people to use, and they have to implement the content, which is the game itself, in gameplay-wise into the game. So they are basically doing two jobs. Yeah, that's why some people might say, all right, so devs are not able to do anything, modders do all the work. That's the kind of thing people forget. Yet, because of all these reasons, modders are able to create content, especially variety content, meaning if you have weapons, you can create more weapons, or now with vehicles, they can create more vehicles, because they have the time for it. And I think modding is going to be an important factor for people to get back into the game, to eventually start playing it again, because we say, all right, so we got like a vehicle mod which gives us 10 more vehicles, and now the game is at a point where I enjoy playing it again. Then yes, of course, modding did a good job there with saving the game, so to speak, but without the basic platform, without the basic game being reliable and enjoyable, there would be no modding at all. So it's not just modders doing saving the game, it's they create more content, of course. It's going to be interesting to see that. People will eventually come back if there's any popular gamer to it, but require a saving in that regard. It's not like the devs stop working and we are the one who have to take over and manage everything.
Yeah.
It's I would say half-half. The development team is doing their half by caring about the game and constantly improving it also as platform, and the community is doing their part by coming up with more ideas and find people who have the resources and time and manpower to tackle those things that the dev team cannot just additionally handle.
One thing I forgot to ask, and I will ask now because it was quite an important question. How much do you guys charge for someone to create a mod for someone? If they were to come to you and say, oh geez, you scared the crap out of me then, I didn't even see you.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah. That depends. Like somebody has a very good idea for a feature,
Yep.
a gameplay, whatever, and people like it. I'm talking for myself there now. If I get an idea or like a concept for any gameplay idea or any project to get into the game and I find that interesting and like to work on that, I would never charge for it. But if somebody, you know, is just quote unquote lazy, or he just doesn't have the skills in order to do it, and wants some other people to do the exhausting work for them, so setting up all the configs for a vehicle, I think that's a lot of hours to spend for one vehicle there. Going to charge it in some way.
Which I honestly think that's only fair, mate, because there's a lot of people out there who like to take advantage of people who've got skills that they don't have. But I see nothing wrong with being recompensed for the time. You know, I try to make a habit of paying almost everyone who I get to do things for me. I just think that's only fair. So anyone who thinks that's wrong, go fuck yourself, to put it bluntly. You know, if you prepare, if they want to do it themselves in their own free time, that's fantastic. But at the same time, you shouldn't be afraid to offer to pay someone to do something for you. That's just my personal belief on it.
Yeah, there's something to it where if you have an idea and you want to work with another person on something, I think people are not, if you don't pay them for it, but if you want people to work for you, and you know, you just, you know, you have one thing they want you, you want them to do for you, and that's it, and you have no real cooperation in that regard. Don't expect people to come to you and say, all right, I'll do the thing for you, and just leave again then.
Yeah.
You should expect people to ask for some counter reward, be that money, be that whatever else.
Yeah.
People do things for nothing.
Exactly. On the home stretch now, mate, what advice would you give to people thinking about buying DayZ?
If people are enthusiasts and just, you know, learned about DayZ existing, that's a major key point for people on the consoles, because they never experienced something like it before. I think there's a lot of content and a lot of hours to be spent on the game, and they should, you know, just get it. And if you're a person who has a very particular idea of what the game should be and is expecting something based on the Arma 2 mod, and say, alright, so I only want to play the game if helicopters are in, and or maybe boats, and I want all these features to be present, they should just, you know, wait until they made it in, either officially or by mod, and just consider it then. I don't like to see people who buy or bought the game in the past, 5 years ago or something, and consider to buy it as a full game. I even read it on the Steam store description page that there's a warning telling people, alright, so if you want to buy the game, don't do it to, you know, think that this is a full game right now and that you can enjoy everything that has been promised. It's for people who want to support the development and, you know, just experience what there is so far. There's some kind of person who would complain that features are missing. Just wait for them to be properly implemented, and wait to see if the game is what you expected it in the end to be. Gonna be like March next year, or I don't know when those post 1.0 content patches gonna arrive, bringing helicopters and all stuff like that. But for people who never played anything like DayZ before, who never played the mod, or played the mod, enjoyed it, but want to, you know, get away from poor performance that was Arma 2 and try out a more modern approach on it, they should definitely, there's so much to do, especially if you have some friends to play with or meet people on friendly service. It's a very great experience, and in the end, if you play for a long time, you really get a lot of value for your money, even though DayZ isn't cheap.
Couldn't agree more. Okay. In your opinion, is DayZ going to be the game you hoped it would be when you first heard about the Standalone project? Because you were a mod player, so you'd remember when they said they were going to make DayZ Standalone.
Yeah. Yeah. We discussed this already, so 1.0 won't be the vision that people had in mind back when the whole standalone project was started. But I think that the aftercare patches, so a potential 1.1, 1.2 or 1.3, if those content that the community is really lacking without breaking anything else, so not removing anything or changing any mechanics people want to stay as it is right now, the game should be very I originally and thought it would be. So I was missing vehicles, I was missing base building when I first tested Standalone on Christmas 2013, but since then we have come a very long way, and I now see most of the things I was to not have in previous versions. And if you compare to what you could do in the original mods and compare to what you can do right now in the standalone version, you will see that actually the standalone version even now has more features to offer and more gameplay experience to be made in a more convenient way.
Yep.
I'm happy with what the standalone version turned out to be right now, and I just hope that they take care of their games like Bohemia did in the past with their other titles, and don't let people down after the release to finish what they originally started.
Last question. What can we expect from you in the future, mate?
Yeah, I kind of already previously, but I'm gonna, of course, do some mods I have personally in mind. I want to just, do them, and it's just me enjoying the development for them. So I'm gonna do them either way, but I'm just gonna stick around for a while and see if people want to do certain things. That's not only gonna be modding, but if people want to see some kind of communities. All right, thank you for knifing me. Want to see some of community forming, or want to see some events taken care of around DayZ. I will be following that development and see what I can do for it. Potential for DayZ as a game, as a platform for people to create content, but also as a game to form communities around and have people experience a good time together. Doing anything that helps fits this overall playing together and having a good time there.
Awesome, mate. Well, look, I just want to say thank you to you, and not just you, mate, but part of the reason why I wanted to do the spotlight on you was to put the spotlight on modders. I know you're getting a lot of attention at the moment, but to add a bit of a human side to it. I cannot say how grateful I am that you guys are doing what you're doing. Yeah, you're going to bring so much to DayZ. It's an amazing game, but it's only going to get better. Oh Jesus, that radio just crackles. Turn that off. But you guys are bringing so much back to the game. Particularly, it's been pretty bad. The status report with the news about 1.0 not being a full 1.0, sort of a, we have a saying here in Australia. The Clayton's effect is basically they used to sell this alcoholic drink that wasn't alcoholic. It tasted like alcohol, but it wasn't alcohol. So yeah, I don't know why you would drink it. You know, let's face it, when it comes to the taste of a drink, alcohol's not exactly some of the most tasty stuff out there when you compare it to a nice orange juice or something like that. So why the hell would you bother doing it? So we call it the Clayton's effect, and 1.0 is going to be the Clayton's 1.0, the 1.0 you have when you really don't have a 1.0. But some of the mods that are coming out, you know, some of the work that's being done is absolutely amazing. Yeah, we've got PvP or Battle Royale servers already popping up. Yeah, they're quite, you know, what's the word? Basic. Not very fleshed out, but you know, they're showing the potential for what we have in the future.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Rice.
First bag of rice I found. I found a thermometer too.
Yeah, I think it's very important. Oh, nice.
I was just taking your temperature rectally as well then. So it kind of added to the insult.
This was too good. Yeah, I think that the community taking a bit more care around things and paying more attention to the development and the game to, you know, just involve themselves. Very important. You don't expect any game to, you know, majorly be fun if it's, you know, just there. And that's it. It's not a single player game that lives off its own story or anything. It lives off people doing things together and the multiplayer experience. So if there's a community around DayZ creating whatever it is, may it be events, content, or even if they, you know, just play together and exchange about the game, that's gonna be a very large profit for everyone. And I'm very happy to see that even though DayZ is going through some rough times at the moment, you know, it's people are still engaged with it, and there's still some core part of the community actively participating in its development.
Did you just get kicked off?
Yeah, now I'm dead.
Oh, you're dead?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. I'm spawning in 80 seconds.
I'm just trying to find the server again. But anyway, we have reached the end of the interview, mate. You guys in the modding community are doing an amazing job, and I think on behalf of everyone else who is watching this interview, I just want to say thank you all so much for what you are doing. The stuff that's being released is fantastic. The Hype Train and all these other mods that Septic Falcon's doing a great job of highlighting. The future is bright. I know it's hard to see that at the moment, you know, with the glum news. I know I've said it a number of times, but with 1.0 being quite shallow, but give it time. I don't think anything we can say is going to make them change that decision that they've made to release 1.0 the way they are. So we have to just deal with it, but know that the future is very bright for DayZ. We've got the Survivor Games mod coming, plus whatever else is out there that you wonderful guys and girls of the modding community are dreaming up. Arkensor, thank you so much for taking the time to do this interview, mate. All the best, and ciao for now. Say bye.
Oh, all right, yeah. Ben, thank you very much for having me, and goodbye then.